support black, Vaughn, zoom in. Support black businesses, all right?
We haven't had banking conversation with that. Our money, your money's going this way, my money's going this way. How about we just cultivate it over here?
Right. We say. Now Carrick is good. He's good. Can we pick up an electronic device, Bluetooth headphones, social media? There's a black electric car company startup. When we strategize, we mobilize. Easy, right? We do it. we laid out the plan. Now we revolutionize. Just do the thing. How about that? Just do the thing. Just bank on it. Be black, blessed, and beautiful, man. For real. Right. Let's clap it up for ourselves, man. Let's clap it up for ourselves. Woo! All right, Nat.
Hey y'all, good morning. You are tuning in to the Morning Melanin Podcast, waking the people up with candid convos about business, culture, healing, community, and all the things. I am your host, Be Conscious, and you are tuning in to a Bank on It edition episode, discussing keys to achieving wealth and financial solvency in our community. This episode is brought to you by YP Studios, a content hub for all things Our Palette. All content is produced, edited, and directed in part by Culture X Media, and the entire show is curated by the Our Palette Network. Let's buy black the right way.
Go ahead and introduce yourself. We'll take it from there.
Hey, how y'all doing? My name is Everett Perry. Everybody call me EP.
What do you do, man?
So right now, I'm a salesperson at AT&T, and I'm currently working on my real estate license. So that's my trade.
Love to see it. Why are you on the show?
I'm on the show to see if I can give some knowledge, to give back to my people with the things that I've learned, so I can help them out.
I feel it. Appreciate you, EP. Clap it up for EP. Yeah. Love it. Okay, we're gonna start at Dobes and then we're gonna take it back down this way.
Hey y'all, I'm Adobe, Benji's co-host for today.
Yes.
I am the founder of Deep Roots Co-op. We're a co-op where we have our small businesses offer deals for our individual consumers. Because it's a co-op, all the members are owners, so the more you put in, the more you get out in a dividend. I'm here with Benji today to, I'm always looking to meet with like-minded people, share some good knowledge, learn some good knowledge, and have a good time.
Love to hear it. Let's clap it up for Dobes.
All right, Brother Carrick.
Hello, everyone. How you doing? Carrick King.
Make sure
I'm a
these
software.
Can hear you over
where's
there.
mine?
Make sure they can hear you down there.
Oh, can y'all hear me? Everybody hear
Can
me?
y'all hear Carrick?
A little bit.
Oh, AJ said you gotta speak up, man.
Oh, I gotta speak up? Okay, cool. Carrick King. I'm a senior product owner. I don't know if I should say depending on how the conversation goes, I don't know if I should say the company. Just in case.
Right.
But yeah, I'm in the tech world. What was the other question?
You have any platforms you're working on, any businesses?
I currently own I would say it's a startup in a sense.
Cool.
King's Punch LLC. It's a drink company, alcoholic beverage company. So yeah, and I'm on the show just to have good conversation.
Cool. Pop quiz for you, Carrick.
All right.
If you could answer this question, what are ways we can support black businesses in 3 words or less? Could you say that in 3 words or less? How can we support black businesses better?
That's
Just sum it up in 3 words or less.
3 words of presence, nourishment, counseling.
Presence, nourishment, counseling. I love it. Appreciate you, Carrick. Who we got next on the track?
Good morning, melanated geniuses and beautiful people.
Oh, he about to take over my show,
Future
man.
of the world. Never that. Devon Travell, creator of Black Wall Street, the board game, and director of curriculum and community development for Play Black Wall Street. Honored to be here. Thank you very much, Benji, Our Palette, and Dobes. Of course, my beautiful queen and partner in life.
Love it.
What is up, everybody? I'm gonna try to match your energy. You really came in blazing there. What's up, everybody? My name is Sinclair Walker, and I serve as Director of Logistics and Operations for Play Black Wall Street, as well as the co-host for the Melanated Married Millionaires in the Making, aka the M4 Show. And yeah, here to just carry on a lot of the conversations that we have on our podcast. Looking forward to expanding and learning some more from our fellow panelists as well. So happy to be here.
Love it, love it, love it. What is one way we can support black businesses in 3 words or less? Either of you can answer.
One way to support. Purchase.
I was going to say spend your money.
Yep.
There you go.
Purchase.
No discounts.
Spend your money. Innovate. And invest.
Oh, there you go.
Too. Go ahead, Queen.
Love it. What we got next?
That would be me. Hello, everyone. My name is Tanika Mann. I am a tax accountant, and I have my own firm, Taj Tax Services, where I support small business owners. I came today because I wanted to be a part of the conversation, contribute, and also meet other entrepreneurs and just be a part of the vibe. So thank you for having me, Ben.
Thank you, Tanika. What are ways we can support black businesses in 3 words or less?
Spend black. Keep your money.
There we go.
All right, my name is AJ Kabia. I'm a licensed financial educator and professional. I help with helping us build and transfer and protect wealth. All right, so that's a big part of why I wanted to be a part of this panel. Is just to spread more awareness. And if I was to answer your question, I would say be intentional.
Let's clap it up for all the audience, man. I appreciate y'all. For the cast. Cool. So we got introductions out the way. Everyone got comfortable with the mics and stuff, right? Lovely, lovely, lovely. So we're gonna do a quick icebreaker. Real simple question. It's actually a very important question. Okay. It's very important. You have to listen very closely. Drums or flats? Who would like to enter the arena first?
Big flats.
Drums or flats?
Flats.
Big flats.
I'm gonna go ahead and say drums, man.
All right.
Yeah, I'm
We'll
with
go
the
ahead and
drums
say
too.
drums.
I'll take the flats.
It's gonna be flats for me.
Okay.
It's
Flats.
Big flats.
good surface area to dip.
Right.
You know,
It is.
Come on, surface.
Yeah.
can really, enjoy my chicken.
Cool.
But with drums, though, you gotta think about it.
Oh, not the
So-
rebuttal.
Whenever you dipping it in the ranch, right, or blue cheese, you have to flip it. You ain't getting the whole thing. When you have drums, you dipping the whole thing. That whole thing is covered up. The part
Nah,
is covered.
man,
in-
you
I'm
can-
not
you-
even. No,
you can
that's not
get
good.
you can get the whole wing in there.
It's all about
You
the
dipping the
wrist
whole
action.
wing in there with your fingertips.
Nah.
What?
Because when you got drums, you got a handle. It's a
It's just a
built-in handle for
technique.
drums.
You
Get
gotta-
some hands for drums. You get some hands for drums.
Technique.
Hands up
But
for drums.
Drums.
Hands up for
He
drums.
get
You
it.
got 2.
He get it.
Okay.
Okay.
For flats.
Nah, I'm.
Big flats.
All right.
Okay.
Well,
It's okay to be divergent, brother. You know
Oh,
what
no,
I'm saying?
I'm
Be
still
divergent.
stick with it. Still stick with it. Team drums.
I think the next question is cartilage or no cartilage?
oh Jesus. Well, the next question was
flats
actually gonna be ranch or blue cheese.
Neither.
Neither. You should be eating them naked.
Fair.
Barbecue
Crazy.
sauce.
But they already got sauce on them. Why you need extra
right.
sauce?
Nah, I'm a saucy person. I gotta have sauce.
My first bite isn't with ranch or
I'll
blue
take
cheese,
ranch.
so I feel you on that.
I'm definitely going ranch.
I'm gonna order both.
I go plain
'Cause,
sometimes.
I do sometimes
half
get
of
ranch
them
and blue
half of
cheese.
them blue cheese.
If I got hot wings, it's ranch for sure.
So everyone who chose flats, we can go ahead and vacate. We're gonna go to a separate room and have our own VIP section.
Okay.
The
Well, the
drums.
camera's in here though, right?
Oh yeah, you're right. All right. Well, let's be real. You know, the door's over here. Security will escort you. Yeah.
Security.
We're going to talk about group economics. It's another term on the blackboard. We'll talk about identity crises, black excellence, otherwise known as elitism, but we'll get to that in a second. And I think that covers all of the terms. I'm not sure, but they'll be on the board. So it'll kind of help us to be like, yo, that's what I meant. I'm talking about that, right? We'll talk about gentrification versus urban removal, right? So, by the way, this is the most y'all hear me talk at this point. I'm just getting it all out. I want y'all to talk. So I want to make sure we're on the same page. Opening statement. Let's get into this. Before we talk about financial irresponsibility, we need to talk about how our community has been treated in this country, in this region of the world, right? We have so many examples of our community came together but was disbanded, destroyed, torn apart. They're all examples of how group economics, racial terrorism, racial trauma, political economics, and systemic erasure are all connected in that order. So you have communities coming together, right? Black Panther Party, Montgomery bus boycott, Black Wall Street. They receive an onslaught of racial terrorism and trauma, right? They were seen as a threat. Why? Because unity is powerful. Y'all, unity is powerful. So they were pulled apart, literally infiltrated from the inside, and in some cases, like with Black Wall Street, completely obliterated in less than 48 hours. Then you have the political economics, the aftermath. It's like, you know what? People are on the books in the county, in the courthouse, in the libraries. Like, you know what? Hey, man, no. Erase that. Cut that out. We didn't do that. No. Close the books. Right? You have the political economics. When people get their voting rights situated, then the people in charge of the voting rights change the rules around the voting rights. Right? Then, of course, that's followed by the systemic erasure. To this day, there are hundreds, if not thousands, of children who don't know so many pieces of Black history, right? That don't know about Black Wall Street. And I'm sure Devon and Sinclair can dive into that, right? I am extremely critical when it comes to talking about financial irresponsibility. My belief is that as a community, we are financially irresponsible, as I said before. And I think we need to do something about it. That's my opening statement.
Are we clapping that?
We can snap it up.
Yeah.
We can feel the energy.
So I'll start off by posing a question here. Are we in a financial crisis or an identity crisis or both?
Speaking for the country or Black people?
Black people. For Black people.
Look, I would open up. I definitely think it's both, but I think more strongly that it's an identity crisis simply by the fact that for the 200 some years that we've been forced to be here, we've had how many different racial identities and names?
Right.
So clearly we have either our own identity crisis or the fact that perception of who we are, but we've gone from Negro to African American, indigenous, back to Black, which is basically Negro in English now.
People of color,
right? So I feel like at some point we need to stand firm on who are we as a collective African diaspora? What do we call ourselves in America? What do we call ourselves in Nigeria? What do we call ourselves in Jamaica? And how can that be one identity so that we can move as a unit?
Yeah, I think that that right there is actually the biggest, I wouldn't say problem, but biggest like challenge, I think, because to your point, identity is really important, but because of how disenfranchised we've been, especially we're just, even if we just talk about people in this country, Black Americans or African Americans, a lot of us don't really have a sense of home, really. Like, we don't really have a connection other than that's my grandmother. Like, most people can't go far back and hear the stories of their actual ancestors and like where they came from. So it's really difficult to have a sense of identity when that's been broken for so long. I think in a sense of like being Caribbean, or at least in my family, for example, it's not as bad because it's an island. So I know where my great grandfather is buried. Like I can see his grave. I can touch it. My family is my grandfather and my grandmother and my step grandmother are all buried on our land. Like I see them every morning when we wake up when I go to Jamaica. Like, it's right there. I clean their graves every time I go. Like, it's a thing. And then down the street I can go and see like my great aunt who's been. So there's a sense of like we know who we are. And it's not a bragging thing. It's just it's something to weep about because that's not everyone's experience. And so there's there's work to do with that, and especially from the sense of as we are trying to grow and have children and be in a situation where we can tell those stories, we have to kind of keep that alive now, so that some people who are maybe just starting their families, who have just maybe they don't have that connection, maybe they can start building that connection now. So maybe that's a part of the identity crisis. And then once you know who you are, it's really easy to kind of pivot into all the other things that you need to fix in your legacy, I guess.
Sorry.
So that's.
I was gonna wait to play that, but yeah. That was for you. That was for you.
Yeah.
So, good stuff. Good stuff. Anyone else? Financial, identity, or both?
I'd love to jump in on this.
Yeah.
I believe it's both, but I'm going to tackle the financial crisis.
Mm-hmm.
I believe we are in a financial literacy crisis. And regardless of where we are, where we live, that literacy or illiteracy translates everywhere. And in a lot of our communities, it hasn't been a normal thing to be financially literate. And we're talking basic economics in terms of spend less than what you make. Put some aside for not only a rainy day, but for the next generations. These are basic concepts that we haven't taken advantage of. And a lot of it stems from not knowing, not implementing it, not seeing it, and not hearing it in the household, not hearing it in our communities. And to me, that's where a big part of the change starts. Regardless of where we are in the world, that literacy can transfer everywhere. But that hasn't been there. That hasn't been there from our households. That hasn't been there from our school system. That hasn't been there from the banking system. The people in the bank can't even teach you how to be financially literate, right? So a lot of that is a whole topic in and out of itself. But I believe a lot of the issues stem from that. When I sit down with people on a daily basis, I see people spending more than they have and they don't know it, right? So if that basic part isn't taken care of, everything else will continue to go down. So there is a huge identity crisis, but a financial literacy crisis is hurting more than anything.
I would say, on the flip side of everything I just said, for the people who do, a lot of it is kind of bad identity too, because if your parents don't teach you what they don't know, then you'll just end up doing the exact same thing. So there's a lot of that happening too. You grew up in the projects, you never really had nothing. You see your parents growing up in the projects, they don't really have any, so you just assume that I'm just gonna be in the projects. If you have brothers that are in the street, 9 times out of 10, I'm gonna be in the street. That's what my brothers are doing. So there's a lot of bad kind of identity with that too. So that's why I think, to your point, I think it does start with identity, because once you know who you are, you know what direction to go, and once you know your past, you know which way to look for your future. And a lot of people are kind of looking in the wrong direction because that's all they know. So it's that cycle that keeps happening. That's why you see so many people still in the hood. It's not because they don't have dreams to do more or aspire to more. It's just, I'm just looking at what I see. A lot of people haven't left out of 285.
Yeah.
Like, some people ain't even come up here and they live right down the street.
Yep.
And they ain't never seen no 285.
It's a highway.
Yeah. Some people ain't from here. But
Yeah,
but if you live in
Shout
Atlanta,
out to the California folks coming all the way out here.
so it just, or some people haven't left a 5-mile radius of their crib.
Yeah.
You know, because that's not their fault. And I think even with black excellence and stuff like that, we have a tendency to judge people because of that, and that's not. It's really an education thing. It's not because they don't want to do better or they just in the street or whatever. Like, some of these kids, that's just all they see, you know. So it's kind of up to us to kind of show them, a little bit more than what they see on a daily basis, because they're not gonna get it in school and they're not getting it home. That's one of the challenges too.
Yep. And then I wanna double down on that too. So I know a lot of the stuff that's going on now is going to end up taking as far as financial literacy initiative. Somebody has to be willing to say, I need to conceptualize this. When they say generational curses, you have to break that.
Yes.
Somebody has to take that initiative in order to do that, because as far as with financial literacy, kind of just tagging on what my man was talking about, a lot of these are concepts that we don't know, but these concepts have existed for a long time. There's a book that I'm reading now. It's The Richest Man in Babylon. A lot of the stuff that it's talking about like how finances were and concepts and stuff like that existed way back then. One of the a couple of the excerpts that they were talking about, the guy was there's a fictional character that it talks about. His name is Arcad. What Arcad is talking about at one point is that there needs to be some form of way for a man's legacy to live on, or a man's wealth to live on once he passes away. That's life insurance. And then another thing that he ends up mentioning is
Talk about it.
Another thing he ends up mentioning is it's better for you to only pay the kings your taxes opposed to paying that man and paying the king's taxes. That's rent versus mortgage. So those are concepts that we just don't know. But once somebody takes that initiative to learn that concept and then reach one, teach one, now you're building a community. Because the book talks about the richest man in Babylon, and it talks about Babylon as a city being a wealthy city. But in order to be a wealthy city, one person has to teach somebody else. And then as a community, you then become a wealthy city. So nobody ever teaches anybody, how you gonna know?
Love that.
That's dope. Before we move on to the next topic, we are all saying the same thing, but we haven't said the one word that I just keep harping on.
All right.
Family.
There you go.
Family is the key.
Huge.
Talk about it, though. Talk about it.
You have to talk to your family. Your family has to instill some type of value for your life, the will to live, like to, carry on your last name or just your existence. Your family has to teach you something. Your family has to give you something. Your family has to support you. If you don't have family, there is no community.
I do have a question from that, because this is something I personally dealt with. Like, how do you reach out to your family saying like, hey, I'm trying to put you on and stuff like that, but because of the things that they've learned and gone through, because it didn't work for them, they won't hear you?
So when I'm saying family, I'm not just only talking about your blood family, like your aunts, your uncles, your brothers, your cousins. For sure, they're involved in that because those are people that you're raised with. But family from people who understand that when hey guys, this is what I learned, and they're receptive to that and they're trying to do something with that, build with those people. There are some people who are going to be like, I wasn't raised like that, this is uncomfortable, I don't really, that's okay. You don't have to force them. Keep living your truth. And, you're going to keep doing your thing regardless. What we're hoping is going to happen is that they're going to keep seeing that, like, okay, wow, you really been talking your financial game. You done bought a house, you done did this, done that. Can we talk about that? Yes, because I love you, let's talk. You know what I'm saying?
So Adobe, and not to cut your wisdom, Adobe, she actually touched on this, right? And she talked about chosen family. And that's something that resonated with me because I'm going through a similar dissonance, right? We're going to talk about cognitive dissonance in a second. Is that the chosen family I have can include my blood relatives, but it can also include my fraternal family, right? My friends, business partners that I've come to know and love, right? So your chosen family can be that family, that community, that party of one, right? That you put together, right? And I also want to add more of an anecdote, right? This is slightly a tangent, right?
Tangent.
There was, I can't remember his name, but he's a thought leader and he spoke about a 3-point formula, right? And it was be, do, have. Can we say that? Be, do, have. So AJ, yes, Myron Golden, there we go. So I think AJ touched on financial literacy being key. That's the doing/having part. But we skipped the being part. Adobe touched on the being. We have to come together as a family, as a community, get our minds right. That's why we talk about the whole wealth mindset, rich mind, all those, the mindset piece. That's the being. Recognize who you are, right? Like, actually recognize who the fuck you are. Yes, you can curse on my podcast. When you recognize who the fuck you are, you will literally start to move differently. You will start to act differently a certain way, right? Then you start to do. Then you start to acquire the things and learn the things and learn more things, right? Attract more of the people who need to be in your circle. And then together, y'all will have it. That's what we mean. That's what abundance truly means. It's like it comes to you. The law of attraction does its job. So be, do, have is kind of the flow when we talk about financial literacy crisis versus identity. I believe we are in both. We need to start with identity. All right. Devon, go.
We left off on talking about family and the importance of identity. So I just wanted to do a quick comparison, right? So when you're in the Jewish community and you turn 14, you turn 15, what happens?
Bar mitzvah.
You have your bar mitzvah, right? Everyone goes up, they throw cash at you, you're a man now. When you're in some...
Tangent.
It's a tangent. It's a tangent?
It is a tangent. It's a comparison.
I'm talking. Okay, sure, tangent. I'm talking about family and identity. So when you're in some Latino communities or Mexican communities and someone turns 16, what happens? Quinceañera. Money, party, you're a woman now, 15, right? What happens when a black man turns 15?
Get a job.
You get there's no celebration, right? But there's no celebration. There's no seed being sown. So what I think, and I get this from one of my mentors, T. But I think the black family, we need to have standard operating procedures or cultures to what happens in our community. When a baby is born, life insurance policy. When a baby is born, an LLC in their name, and you start a 529 or a brokerage account for them. Right? When that kid turns 16, they go through a rites of passage. They now get a house in their name that they control as a property manager, and they get control over their brokerage account, and they understand how business operates. When they turn 18, they start paying rent in the house. They start working for their business or working somewhere else for our business, and possibly move out of the house if they want to. But what is the operating procedures of what happens within our black families at each certain age, and how can we make sure that that's built economically to have us building wealth?
Can
we clap that up for a second? That was a word. That was a word.
To add to that, I 100% agree. But I see a couple of different areas where the growth needs to happen for that to happen. Number one, people can't be hand to mouth. There's actually a study that shows when you're financially in a position where you're struggling, your brain literally shrinks. And the basic functions that you think a normal human being can do starts to fade away. So when we're in that survival hand-to-mouth role, it's tough to think future and not just think next week, not just think keep the lights on, not
survival
just think
mode. You're in survival
right.
mode.
So to do that, there's a lot that has to happen. But yes, 100%, all those conversations need to happen more and more in our communities. One of the biggest disadvantages I see is being in this industry. I've been in the industry 10 years now. I go to conferences all day long and I don't see a lot of us. So what does that translate to? That translates to a lot of families that don't have somebody they can reach out to right away to have those conversations. That translates to a culture of not being literate and not planning for kids for the next generation. I meet people all day long that want to think that way, but it's so difficult because it's not a norm. So the conversations like this just continue, and from there it becomes more normal, and from there that reach spreads. And financial professionals that are in the industry need to do a better job of putting out workshops and seminars and collaborating. And for example, I do a 6-part workshop series that tackles all of these things, not just to help people understand, but to really spread that. Because if they hear it from one person, when they speak to the other 500 people in their circle, that fades away. These conversations need to be normal. A lot of people don't know what a 529 is. A lot of people don't know you can start a brokerage account for a child. A lot of people don't know a lot of these different things that are done to help us build and transfer wealth. And that's where a lot of the issue is, on top of course, being hand to mouth, right? So I think it's an entire process that literacy is being worked on. It's not gonna be an overnight process because it's tough to make that change when it hasn't been the norm yet. But as we learn and as we grow and as people like ourselves continue to have these conversations, then it becomes, hey, I don't wanna fall behind because of that. So love these conversations. I know this is the beginning of it. This is where it starts. For a lot of people that are financially illiterate, they don't know they're financially illiterate. That's where it starts, right? You could be drowning, tangent.
Tangent.
You could be drowning, but if you don't know you're drowning, it's even worse than if you're drowning and you know you're drowning.
Gotcha.
Right, so.
Yep, I think
Tanika was about to,
Yes, I'm sorry, what's your name?
Devon.
So to piggyback off of what you said, I have a question. To kind of tie this into what Ben's initial question was, doesn't that go back to us having an identity crisis? Because
100%.
what was done historically for Black people, no matter where you came from, in terms of like land being passed down, money being kept in the family, the business being worked on generation to generation to generation. So I just feel like that kind of just overall ties into the big picture. Who are we in?
Nika, real quick, sorry, just make sure you speak to the mic. Yeah.
Oh, am I good now?
Yeah,
Sorry.
you're good.
So like, because I don't even know what have my people traditionally done, like what was lost that my family doesn't know, that I can just do better, even if I don't know all of the investments and technical things that are available to me now. Just know, like, the value of knowing who I am and what my people have done and the things that have prospered because of that.
100%. I agree. And that's why we created the board game. That's why we have the animated series that teaches the history of Tulsa Black Wall Street. Because I think from a young age, instead of watching, I watched Pokemon, Digimon growing up, like Dragon Ball Z. Right. How can we make fun animated things for kids to watch where they can learn about Mansa Musa? They can learn about Queen Calafia. They can learn about Queen Saraonya. They can learn about all these amazing ancient African empires that literally that DNA runs in their blood. And whether it's a fictional story or a story that's built on reality, I think being able to see those as a young kid could help build that strong identity.
Right.
The beautiful thing is that it is a beautiful thing and is a sad thing at the same time. That hasn't been created yet, but we have the vision to create it, right? And we have the vision to make that normal.
Facts. And
to make that the culture. Since it hasn't been there for a lot of different reasons. Now we have the tools and knowledge to make it happen. The collaboration just needs to happen to make it spread, right? So what can I do to help that board game get into every household?
Yeah.
That's what makes that change.
Oh, we gonna talk, AJ.
We've been telling y'all, invest in yourself, invest in your family, get the policy. You can focus on celebrating their life instead of grieving over this debt.
I was just gonna say, I think I read somewhere that Chadwick didn't have life insurance.
He didn't even have a will.
Or a will. Yeah.
Wow.
The state of California got a good chunk of his money.
They took like $2 million.
Word?
Yep.
That's
the
wild.
state got a good chunk of his money because they had to go through probate court. Mind you, he was married.
Yeah.
His wife got some money and his family.
Got like 1.8.
But it's the fact.
Total.
It's the fact that the state took $2 million. Because when he died, the state was like, well, I guess we got to figure out where your money goes.
Right.
And they
so
went
go ahead
and they
give
got
us
to work.
$900K for just figuring it out. And we're going to keep another.
Jesus
But all
Christ.
you got to do was give all my money to my wife.
Yeah.
Period. You put it on a
Same
toilet
thing with,
paper.
what's her name? Aretha Franklin, I think. She didn't have a will either.
DMX didn't either with all them kids. I think they still fighting. I think they still fighting because the fiance tried to slide in. They're like, no, ma'am.
To answer your question, that's why we do what we do. Just to make sure people have. I'm sure no one really came to chat with.
Jump in. I have a quick comment and question everybody about that, right? Say you find $100 after doing laundry in the dryer. Do you save it or spend it?
Oh, I saved that.
I check my budget sheet first, and then
going to my piggy bank.
Yeah.
Because I thought I lost it. It didn't exist in my life, so as far as I'm concerned, it could just go.
I default to saving it too.
Yep, put it to work.
So this room is different. This room is very different because that's where it stems from. If we're spenders, no matter how much money comes in, we'll never run out of spending.
Yeah.
If we're savers, when something comes in, the first thing we're thinking is, how do we save this? How do we grow this? But also, if there's not a goal that we're aiming towards, it's tough to say, hey, let me go ahead and put this extra 30 grand away if there's no goal there. We don't see why to do it. But if you see that to retire, you need $7 million, you want to chip away at that as much as you can, so extra 30 grand is just helping you get there.
Got it.
Right. So if that goal isn't there, it makes it tougher to have that mindset also, because what are you saving for? Where are you saving? When that goal is there, then the questions start to come up. When you have a certain amount of money, liquid or extra, then you start to say, how can this money not sit there? I'm tired of seeing it 20 grand be 20 grand. I want it to grow. Then that conversation expands and goes from there.
Take it away, Lonnie.
All right. So a lot of y'all talked about how identity crisis is the problem for a lot of the Black community. So I want to know, what solutions would you provide the Black community to identify themselves?
Okay, that's my
family.
key word. Talk to your family.
starts at home.
What if your family doesn't know? So like how we talked about how Latinas have quinceañeras, how
He asked me that, yeah.
Chosen family.
Chosen family. You got friends, right?
Yeah, but
Yeah, but
talk
you don't
to
want
them about the Haitian like background as opposed to the African background.
What's the difference? We're all black.
In a sense.
We're all family. We all have like the same issues, like different, storylines. But at the end of it, we're oppressed people living in oppressed land. How do we make some money and make something of it? That's your question, right?
Essentially.
Talk to your families.
So-
That's my solution.
Not to cut your wisdom and W, but you're diving into a conversation we had on a previous segment, right? We actually talked about the diaspora.
Right.
And I think we need to talk about the diaspora more often. In this room, there are Jamaicans in here, there are Haitians in here, there are Black Americans in here, right? There's also Afro-Americans in here. We have a nice blend of culture in here. So we need to have a more open conversation about the diaspora and what it means to actually come together. I said this before, unity does not equal harmony. So we can come together despite the fact that, I came from this tribe, or I'm from Jamaica versus Nigeria or versus Haiti. We're still all one. We're literally treated the same way in this country. So let's get that out the way, right? They're not checking to see if they pull you over. Oh, where are they from? Are they? Nah, it's race as this defined in this region of the world.
Black.
This.
Negro.
Shit doesn't matter when you get
It
pulled
doesn't
over.
fucking matter. And so I say that to say, and I'm gonna shut up, but we need to have a more open conversation about the diaspora. Stop the fucking oppression Olympics. Like, we have to stop that shit and realize that we are actually, we stem from the same root at the end of the day. We gotta cut that shit. But that's
It's 200 years in the making. But I'm trying to get the scope of your question, because you said it. When we talk about family, are you talking about family like our elders, like our mom, dad, like trying to get them on board, or are you talking about family like future? Because I think those are different conversations when you have to have a conversation with the people that raised you about money decisions that they've made that impact you, and then money decisions that they're making in their older years. I think that's like a whole nother conversation. So I'm just trying to I'm trying to find the scope of what your question is about.
I was looking more so of like the bloodline. So like how we talked about Latinas have quinceañeras, how the
Jews have bar mitzvah.
All those stuff. How do we know if Africans themselves from Africa don't have a tradition?
They definitely
do.
They definitely do.
I didn't know that. So
them weddings be lit. I don't know if y'all seen them weddings.
I've been in them.
Them weddings is wild.
Money dance. But I have two like very different solutions for you, because I'm very solution oriented as well. So the number one is Ancestry.com, 123me, whatever it is. You can literally take a DNA test and you can find out where your peoples are from, right? I did mine. I found out I'm 41% Nigerian. I'm 23% Ghana. I'm 9% Mali. I'm 7% Scottish or something like that. I was like, Mama, what happened?
That makes sense.
Right?
That makes sense.
That was the Jamaica side colonizer. You know what it is. But so that's one part, right? You can take your DNA test, figure out what parts of Africa or the diaspora, the world you're from, and then go on Google University, YouTube University, and find out about those places. Some of those places have a rites of passage called Samakwaza, right? It's very similar to a quinceañera, but it's where as a man, when you turn 16, you go out into the wilderness, and when you come back, when you survive, you are now a man. Right, so obviously it would look very different today, like in Atlanta and California. What that would look
go
like.
out to P Street and see if you come back. You know what I mean?
Hope you make it, player.
Do a lap around 25.
Is it a lot different?
You got to run a lap
Yeah,
around
it's a lot
25.
different from I think what traditional summer Kwaza was. Maybe not today. I don't know how it happens today.
It looks like when you're 18, you get out of my house. That's what it looks like. Which is a reality for a lot of folks.
100%.
But the other one, I think, and I talked about this in a book that I wrote in 2017 called Black Future Month. I think every June we should have Black Future Month, and we've been celebrating it 3 years in a row in California, where we take intentional time to teach our kids about what they want to do with their future. Teach our kids about Black history, but more importantly, innovation, technology, and how we're going to live the next 100, 200, 300 years in America. But as a family unit, you can choose to have your own brand.
Yep.
I know my family has family reunions. We get together in Mississippi, Atlanta, Vegas, California, and we come together as a family.
Yep.
So when we have our family reunions, we have our T-shirts, we have our logos, we have our barbecues, our recipes. That's intellectual property.
Yep.
We all pull our
Talk
monies
about it.
together. We're not building hotels. We're renting in hotels, but that could easily be something that we develop. But as a family reunion, how can you come together every year, every 2 years, and say, these are our values, this is our mission statement, these are our board members in the family, this is our 501(c) that we all donate $5 a month to, and then we have a scholarship fund for all of our kids that go to college. Like, there's ways that even outside of the African culture, we can build established family culture and brands and standard operating procedures that we move forward with.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lonnie.
One other thing about family, just because I know, so we're all very privileged. Like, we have people that are that we can talk to. We're on a podcast. We're literally already doing more than most people. For those who may be listening that don't have any, like, there's a lot of people that don't have anybody to talk to. Like, they don't have family at all. So you can start your own. If it's something that you're thinking about doing in the future, you can set yourself up to where it's like, you can say, like, when I have my family, this is what we're going to do, and you can move in that direction. You don't have to, because I think a lot of the stuff that we're talking about is trying to look into the past a little bit, and if you don't have any, if you truly are, like, alone, then that's kind of really hard to do if you don't have anything to look back to. So that doesn't mean that you can't do more for yourself. It just means that you have a unique opportunity to create something for yourself and for your future. Don't look at it as like, oh damn, well shit, I don't know where to go because I'm just sitting here just by myself. You have a unique opportunity to create your own world, like with your own family that you'll have one day. Correct. So you don't have to be discouraged about that. Just for those people who don't have families, you know what I mean, or friends or nothing like that.
Yeah. Okay. So I consider that a blessing. More than a negative, I consider that a blessing.
Yeah, 100%.
I think it's important to speak to the people that are listening to this and are really like, I don't have anybody, you know what I'm saying? Even like the friend group, my uncles, you know what I'm saying? Like, where do you start? That's really, it's huge.
And that directly answers Lonnie's question, like, and what Carrick's comment is, I truly believe that our elders are experts in what has come before us, but our children are experts in what comes next.
Yep.
So we are the experts of the future. When we come, whoever our ancestors are, they're experts in, they had the wisdom of what once was, right? We can go to them for that. But my mom, I love her to life, but she is in her 60s. And my siblings and I are trying to get her in the habit. We're trying to kind of massage her into possibly downsizing her house because she can't afford it. She can barely work now, so she's barely maintaining the mortgage. She may have to downsize, run an Airbnb.
Not to cut your wisdom. Can we use this as because that's a really big subject.
No,
I feel like that's like a missing thing because we're all of the age now where we are taking care of each other, like we're taking care of ourselves. We're doing things for ourselves, and we're trying to figure out. There has to be like a decision made. I feel like, are we going to start doing the things that we need to do for our future, or are we going to try and stay? I struggle with it. Like, are we going to try and pull from like mom, aunt, uncle, cousins, like, y'all come do this with me?
I would answer that first, Carrick, by
do
saying,
we just say fuck it, like y'all time is over and we just move forward?
If it's not an emergency, like a financial emergency, I would say prioritize your future. And it's such nuance in answering this, right? Because we all have different connections to our parents, right? For example, I'm gonna go out and say it. I'm not as connected to my father. I'm just not.
I don't know my dad.
This Father's Day, I just said, fuck it. He's not getting a text from me. He did nothing. My brother's my dad, like straight up. So that's just a whole different thing, right? My mom's, like, she deserves a Father's Day text. You feel me? Like, but even to that point, my mom and I have had a falling out. When we lived together during the pandemic, I moved back in with her as an adult after being out the house for 8 years. Yo, wild. So I had to learn that. I'm like, it's not that I'm leaving my mother behind, but I am prioritizing my family that is going to come from me and whoever my queen will be. And I will look to my mother and try to say, yo, mom, you can hop on this, and this is what you need to do to make sure this is secure. But we all know, especially Jamaican mothers, we know how they can be, right? They're stern, and Caribbean moms in general, right? It's going to be complicated. I really think it depends on what your true relationship is with your parents, because some people, your family, sometimes it's not really your family. Like we've probably had family members that we've had to ixnay out of our life, that have treated us bad, that have assaulted us in many different ways, right? Right? So that's why Adobe's words really resonate with me. You may have to have a chosen family to actually invest in, and it may or may not include all of your parents, both of your parents, all of your cousins, your auntie them, uncle them, whomever.
I don't know, but that's another thing about identity too, though, because in some families it's kind of taught to that you do have to
family over everything.
Your family, your blood, and to what you're saying, it's like bloodline over what you choose.
Right.
But
blood is thick
in some cultures, it's really it's almost demanded and required that you take care of, once you get to a certain point, that you take care of your elders. You know, that I think that's a lot of people struggle too, where like they actually can't go but so far because they have to move in grandma, they have to move in mom is sick, and those are things that's going to end up happening to us one way or another. Like it's one of the things that I have nightmares about, actually, because my family is so large. I know that my 40s and 50s are going to be a fucking nightmare because they're going to die. I can't avoid it. I can't do, there's no money that I could put them in the bed. Like it's going to happen. Right. So what can I do to at least give them some of the only reason why I'm here is because of them. How can I repay them by at least having the next 10 or 15 years of their lives be things that they've never seen before? You know,
not to cut your wisdom, you bring up a great point. And so my family is from Sierra Leone, but I've actually never been to Sierra Leone. I'm going soon. I was going to go during the pandemic, then the pandemic happened. But that's a very key point, and for a lot of people, because of that, they can't really grow into the people that they're supposed to be.
Yeah.
And I'm of the mindset that you have to be a little selfish to be able to be selfless. If you can't help yourself, you can't help anybody else the way you need to be helped. Right. And I saw that growing up my entire life. People give everything they have to everybody else, and they end up with nothing. Also. So they still can't give, right? So when it comes to that, and you bring up a really great point, like how many families have long-term care?
Man.
Right? I love my parents, but I don't want to wipe their ass. I'm going to just be 100% real. Right? Which is why, once I understood the things I understood, right away I sat down and was like, hey, we have to get some things straight. And okay, if you can't afford long-term care life insurance, okay, that's an investment that I have to make. Right. Because when we think, okay, let me just take care of myself, it's still going to come back one way or another. Right. Right. It's still going to come back, and at the end of the day, your family's going to, even if your family doesn't look at you for help, it's going to be tough for you to live with yourself without making that change. So some things we can't really fix 100%. But I think we have to focus on our future and focus on helping, but you can't change somebody's mindset overnight. But we could do the best that we could do, because say, okay, forget your parents, forget your grandparents. That's going to come down. Whatever debts they left fall with you. Right? If they pass and now you're sitting there thinking, how do we bury this person? That's still a burden on your back.
But even with that, like how you did, that's again, it goes back to identity. How you deal with that, your kids will. I'm always concerned about the idea of like whatever I'm dealing with and I don't have kids yet, but it's something that I'm actively working on. But like when you're dealing with that, your kids will see it, because I know I saw it. Like when my grandfather died, I saw what they did, It's 10 of them. So my mom is one of 10. She's
baby
six,
boomers. They was all
So I know how that affected me in a positive way because of how they dealt with it. It was sad as shit. I mean, it's the patriarch of our family. But the way financially that they deal with it, how much they spent, how they talked about it every day on the phone because they're very close. Like all of those things will impact how your kids say, okay, so when this happens to me or when mommy's sick, this is what I'm going to do because this is what I saw her do when her parents were sick. So there's also a sense of identity in that too. So you have to be kind of careful in making that decision of like, forget mom and dad because your kid will go forget mom and dad. You know, you have to be very careful about how you do that. So it's just a thing that it's not a nightmare, but it's a thought I'm constantly thinking about.
If I can jump in, I think it's if you have the knowledge to help your family, you see them putting themselves in positions that are detrimental to them, I think try to step up and try to have a conversation. It's going to be a little hard. Like, I'm Black American, and my mom is very independent, so me trying to talk to her is not going to go very far. But I still, make the effort. Even with my brothers, trying to talk to them, they have that I think I know everything mentality. But I made the effort. But after a certain point, I'm trying to talk to you. I try to help you out a little bit. Then I have to realize that even though it's uncomfortable, it's okay for me to say, okay, I tried. Maybe put a little bit of it aside to help them. But I now have to focus on me, my family, the people I'm supposed to help in the future. Because you are choosing at this point to not do better. So I think sometimes we also just have to know that, like, if we try, like, I did my part, it's okay to just fall back. And just be comfortable with that feeling. Like, it's going to hurt. It's going to suck to see your family, like, go through certain things. But I did all I can do.
And I think your kids can be proud of that for you communicating and standing up for yourself. Like, I don't think your kid is going to see them and be like, they abandoned their people, so I'm going to abandon. No, they're going to be like, they stood 10 toes down for something that they believed in. And it actually affects the kids because, if mom is pouring on to grandma is not listening, what is the kid looking at,
Right.
Because they're hearing you tell, yo, Ma, you got to fix it, and they're not listening. You're still pouring in. They're looking at you like, do you have a backbone? Are you going to stand now? When does it stop? And the older kids get that they can really ask these questions and, keep game.
Yeah, that's true too. I have, it's funny, like, at least for, not to segment, but like the Jamaican household is, they don't start listening to you until they start seeing you do better. So like, and
everybody,
it's weird. Like until you get to a certain, like my mom, they didn't give a fuck about what I had to say until I got married. And then they were like, I guess we should listen to him now.
Right.
But that's an opportunity. It's great. If it took y'all this long and you now listening, let's do it.
Yeah. And
now
then
that I finally have my house, it's like my mom actually like respects my opinion and like I've been had an opinion. I've been grown. Like literally, exactly. I've had to be grown since I was 15. So it's just like, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
But I meet them where they're at because my parents didn't start taking my opinion seriously until I moved overseas. And I came back and they're like, oh, wow, look at you, an adult. And I'm like, what was I doing 3 years ago? You know what? Now that we're here, let's talk.
I want to actually talk.
I think that's where environment really comes in because just like your kid, I didn't listen to everything my parents said.
Right.
You're not gonna listen to everything your parents say. Your kids won't listen to everything you say. But that environment has to be created where there's multiple people that they can. Hey, if they turn to the right, what is that message? Right? Because if it's completely different, then it doesn't help. But in that scenario, for example, I sat with my parents and hey, bam, 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 they weren't trying to hear it. Right? So let me bring somebody else in and go from there. But it's got to be more than one person.
My thing, like, and I hate it, but that's like the problem with being like a pioneer whenever you're trying to start something. A lot of times it takes that initiative, and you just have to hope that with due time they're gonna end up coming around. I know, like personally with my mom and stuff like that, I had these ideas. Every time if I didn't have it all together, she would shoot it down. But it would take, and it's been a repeated thing. It takes me doing this farming. If I like recently, I have an idea for this logistics company. I had to form an LLC, write it all out, give her all the plans, and then finally, I presented that to her. But it had to take me doing that initiative too, because when I originally presented it, it was nothing. You know, she didn't value it. But that's just the issue that you end up having. But then, even if you take that initiative and you tell your family, all right, this is what I'm doing, blah blah blah, X, Y, Z. If they're not receptive to it, then the only thing you can bank on is in the future that those people that are younger than you or your kids, that they'll receive it. And that's how you break a generational curse. It has to start somewhere.
This new Afro-America unlearns Western medicine and relearns non-Western medicine.
Actually, because you heal through food, you heal through teaching, you heal through investing. It's
back to like capitalism. Yes. I don't even know that we should call it hospital.
Exactly.
Just change the word.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Is where
care
violence
center.
on black bodies happen.
Care center? I heard care center.
a care center.
Facilities, healing facilities.
Greenwood was a capitalist. They bought and sold from each other. You feel me? Literally practice group economics.
So if you were out here selling junk food, you could not come into the community and say,
okay.
But that's what I'm saying. No, this is a fact. Out here pushing fentanyl.
Right.
There you go. I'm trying to heal you. Here's some fentanyl for your pain. That's not the doctor that's here.
So there's standards.
I proposed a theory. This is a Benjiism. There are 3 ways that we can get to liberation currently in this country. Mass insurrection. Carrick knows what I'm talking about. Mass exodus, sovereign statehood, right? Or a combination of the 3.
This is going to be fun. I do believe in majority rules. Everyone is not going to agree on one thing, but we don't need everyone.
30%.
Enough to write the history that
30%.
it happened.
Yeah.
You know how many
Black Americans are in
It's like
America
there's like
right
30 million black people in America. Did somebody fact check?
would need to be like at least 10 million?
I think we need
30,000.
A couple tens of thousands? So a city.
Exactly.
A city. I mean, look at what Atlanta did. Our voter turnout, we did one thing. We did one thing.
Yeah, but we didn't have
in
to kill-
2020.
Yeah, we ain't had to kill nobody.
I know. It's an example of us being like.
That's one of the options. You had to-
I want to go on record and say that I am not for number 1.
All right.
I just want to be clear. I'm on record. You hear? I am not for number
I'm taking
1.
this shit literal.
Lovely closeout. I believe that's a wrap.
That's a
on
big
Bank
wrap.
on It season 2.
Support black. Vaughn, zoom in. Support black
Get his camera ready.
businesses. All
Get
right.
the camera ready.
Support them.
Black business. Black
Actually,
business.
do your
Business.
homework. Do your research. Pilot protocols of 4-point play is recognize, strategize, mobilize, and revolutionize. Just do the thing. How about that?
It's not as cool now,
Do
is
the
it?
thing. Just do the thing. Just bank on it.